The more you bend over backwards for a dismissive avoidant, the more they're actually going to pull away. And in today's video, we are going to talk about why this actually happens. I'll start by taking you through 3 major insights that will change the way you see the relationship with a dismissive avoidant, and you'll learn why people pleasing often pushes them away further. Then we'll talk about some of the neuroscience of how people pleasing and this chronic cycle actually influences your relationships in probably not the way that you're expecting. And at the end, I'll take you through a powerful exercise that can change the way you're operating so you can get some serious breakthroughs. So here's the first thing. People pleasing actually makes dismissive avoidance feel smothered. It actually confirms their fear of enmeshment, and a lot of dismissive avoidance, and this is through real conversations with dismissive avoidance, by the way, many of which I've had over the past more than a decade. Dismissive avoidance will also say, well, if somebody's people pleasing me, they're going to expect me to do that back. And that's not how I want to operate in relationships. So dismissive avoidants also have this huge fear of expectations being placed on them because somebody's people pleasing and self-abandoning first. And all of these things cause dismissive avoidance to start wanting to push away further. Okay, so that's really point number 1 and 2. The next thing is that 93+% of communication is nonverbal. And we are giving people nonverbal cues all day long about how to treat us. You're essentially conditioning people how to train you, whether you are intending to or not. And a lot of individuals, when they are chronically people pleasing, you are essentially telling this person, my needs don't matter. Don't worry about me. My needs don't matter. It's just all about you. And this honestly not only lowers respect in a relationship, but lowers that person's ability to really know you, to show up for you, and decreases intimacy in a relationship as a result. Another huge piece here is that dismissive avoidants are attracted to people who have their own strong sense of self and identity. I can't even begin to tell you the hundreds, if not thousands of conversations I've had specifically where a dismissive avoidant tells me, I want my partner to have an identity outside of me. I want my partner to have other interests outside of me. I don't want my partner to constantly put me as the center of their universe. That makes me feel overwhelmed. And so exactly the thing, if you're the loved one of a dismissive avoidant, that they need, okay, also usually happens to be the thing that's so healing for you. This is with every attachment style pairing. It just so happens that almost everything that we need to make a relationship work with somebody is usually the most healing thing for ourselves. So if you look at this, for example, an anxious attachment style, their best chance of working out a relationship with a dismissive avoidant is to learn to self-soothe, to learn to meet some of their own needs, to embrace their sense of self and individual identity, which then in turn allows attraction to foster in this relationship dynamic, allows them to not feel like they have to cling to the dismissive avoidant as much. And that actually helps the relationship along. Of course, the dismissive avoidant side also needs to be able to be more vulnerable, open up, make healthier compromises in relationships. Each of the things they need to do to make the relationship work are also most helpful for their own individual healing journey. In other words, it's healing for an anxious attachment style to learn to self-soothe, to learn to have their own sense of self and identity and needs. It's healing for a dismissive avoidant as a human being to open up more, to be more vulnerable, to be able to make healthy compromises, right? So these are actually good things for both parties, but of course they're good for the relationship as well. Same thing applies for fearful avoidants. Fearful avoidants often need to set better boundaries with their dismissive avoidant partners. They need to communicate their needs to their dismissive avoidant partners instead of trying to meet the other person's needs and then never share their needs and feel overwhelmed and burnt out, because these things create imbalance. So these are the necessary ingredients that will help us along in a relationship dynamic. But I also want to share here that dismissive avoidants, they don't do well with feeling pressured by somebody over giving and over caring and overdoing it. They want their partner to have a sense of self. And it is so important, no matter who you are or who you're dating, that you learn to have a sense of self in all of your relationships. It's the only thing that breeds authenticity in our relationships and connection. It's the only thing that allows us to properly move through conflict. If something's bothering you and you don't know what you actually need or what your values are or what's important to you in terms of how to solve for the conflict, it won't get solved, and conflict will just build up. Resentment will build up. It will tear you apart. And so it's actually really helpful for you, if you want to be operating in a relationship in any type of secure way, to be able to know who you are, okay? To be able to show up for yourself. I want to say as well, if you want to go into our course, it's all about learning your needs so that you can individuate, know who you are as a person, know what needs you have to get met to self-soothe, learn to communicate these needs in healthy ways. It's going to help you so much if you are struggling with this. You literally can keep this course for free for life. It's actually a giveaway right now. We're just doing this for a couple of days. You can click the link below. It gives you access to all of the personal development school for free for 7 days. And with that, you will get to keep our needs course for free as a bonus. Now, if you look at this from a neuroscience lens, okay, we actually look at the different dynamics here. Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory shows that this chronic fawning response, okay, this appeasement, it actually keeps the nervous system dysregulated. So this fawn response is people pleasing. It's actually caused by dysregulation to begin with, okay? So we usually have this fear of being not good enough or abandoned or disliked or rejected, which triggers, it's that core wound itself that triggers the people-pleasing response. But research into polyvagal theory and our nervous system shows that then when we are people-pleasing, it actually continues out that chronic nervous system response. And dismissive avoidants, remember, they're picking up on a lot of things. Communication is nonverbal, and they sense this as this sort of unsafety dynamic. I can feel that you're in sympathetic nervous system mode. I can feel that you're in this fawning mode, and it feels upregulated, dysregulated. And that often causes them to also feel a little bit dysregulated and distressed. Judith Herman's trauma research also confirms that appeasement is a survival response linked to fear circuits in the brain. So again, dismissive avoidants will often pick up on these things, and these things will come to fruition as, hey, we're not showing up as our authentic selves in relationship. One person's people pleasing, they're not bringing their truth to the relationship. The other person senses that dysregulation, pulls back. And now we just have this really unhealthy dynamic where neither person's really being themselves. Both people have walls up in different ways. I think it's extremely important to stress here that if you are people pleasing chronically in any relationship, it's your own subtle version of avoidance because you are literally connecting with a mask on. You're not being yourself. You're not sharing your truth. And so it is still its own hidden form of avoidance, okay, indirectly. So 3 healing actions, okay? 3 things that you can start doing today. Number 1, know your needs, okay? So number 1, take the time to consider what you need as a person in a relationship. And number 2, you're gonna start practicing talking about these things to people, taking up space. I know that when you go to do this for the first time or at the beginning, you're feeling like, wait, I'm scared. I'm gonna say a need and somebody's gonna think I'm too much, or they're gonna feel like they don't wanna be there for me and they're gonna reject me and it's not gonna work. I promise you, if somebody leaves a relationship with you because you communicated your needs, because you had needs as your own unique human being, if you communicated them kindly, okay, and somebody leaves you or abandons you or judges you for having needs, they're not the person you want to be spending your life with anyways. They're not the person you want to be spending your time with anyways. Healthy relationships make room for communication, make room for mutual expression of needs. That's the only chance you have at actually having a sincere relationship long-term where there's security and stability. Because if you can't talk through things, if you can't share when you need a little bit of reassurance or a little bit of consistency, or you have a love language around maybe physical touch and you want more of, affection in your relationship, whatever it is, if that can't be a conversation that's received by somebody else, you're on a trajectory your whole life with that person where you are going to feel self-silenced, you're going to feel resentful, you're going to feel like you're stuffing down what you actually want, and it's not healthy, okay? So I just want to say, learn your needs, practice taking up space. There's healthy ways to practice communicating these things as a whole, okay? And the vast majority, remember, of dismissive avoidance, the vast majority of all people, period, actually find you having a sense of self as a much more attractive thing than its opposite, okay? Than just being people-pleasing and so agreeable all the time. The last thing is I want you to practice saying no in small ways in your life. I want you to make a list, okay? I'm going to tell you the 7 areas of life here. You can write them down. They're career, financial, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and relationships. And I want you to write down these areas of life and I want you to ask yourself, where am I saying yes and it's inauthentic for me? What am I agreeing to in each of these areas? So in career, maybe you're taking on projects that you don't align with. Around money, maybe you're paying the bills for somebody in your life and you actually don't feel good about it. Mentally, emotionally, okay, you're learning your emotions, your feelings, the way you regulate. Personal growth will kind of fall into mental, emotional categories. Where are you doing things that are not in your truth? And what are you going to start doing instead? Okay, so go through all the areas of your life, your physical health and well-being, spiritual area of your life, your friends, family, romantic relationships, all fall under the relationship category. And I want you to really look at, what am I doing here? What should I be doing instead that's more in alignment with my truth? And practice every day doing one small thing that you can to take up space. Because when you are constantly operating from this belief that love equals self-sacrifice, that actually means that for you, all of your relationships are going to be full of love equals I have to abandon myself to be with anybody else. Okay. Love equals, sure, I'm going to try to love somebody else, but I am not self-loving in that process. And that's not going to bring you healthy, secure relationships at all. Okay. It's going to continue a cycle of self-sacrifice and continuously leave you choosing the wrong partners, ending up with people who are not able to show up for you, and also ending up in a position where you are unfulfilled, even if you end up in a relationship. If you're anything like me, I love to overlap neuroscience with psychology and ancient wisdom. And I just want to leave you with two major thoughts. In John 4:18, it says, there is no fear in love. And I think this really highlights the fact that when we are coming from this place of people pleasing and self-sacrificing and, oh my gosh, I have to be what somebody else is expecting from me, is that real love? And I think it's a really important question to ask ourselves. Is that the type of love you want to invest in long term? Is another way of looking at that. And sometimes I even ask people, how does this actually make me feel to be operating this way? Okay. And all really important questions that can ground you in deeper self-introspection and help you sort of realize there might be another way. And the Buddha says, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. And I think this goes back again to this idea that when we have fears inside of ourselves, when we have unresolved wounds, fears of abandonment or betrayal or not being good enough, we end up trying to control our external world. Let me change, myself externally so that I can be accepted or liked or loved. But you're not going to ever find peace that way. You're going to get locked into a cycle of, again, self-silencing, changing yourself. But if instead you can work through those fears internally first and then bring your authentic self to the table, this is where you are most likely to have the most successful relationships. So that is it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this channel. Maybe share this video with somebody else that might be able to benefit. I put out daily videos here all about psychology, attachment styles, neuroscience, and ancient wisdom. And if you like this stuff, I hope you subscribe, and I'll see you soon.